Okay, first up is Kendra. Alright, this looks good. Looks like you got all the basics in there and that's working well. I just want to show you a few things you could do to improve on this. So here I am in Maya. One thing is that people tend to kind of swing one foot around in front of the other. So I'm going to move this in a little bit. So if I take this, I'm going to make sure my auto keyframe is turned on. So if I make a change where there's a keyframe, it'll set a new one. And people tend to kind of swing one foot a little bit around in front of the other, so I'm just going to scooch that in a little bit. And we're going to want to make it the same here. So my trick for that is to middle mouse click here, and I can key these selected ones. So now it's same at the beginning and end. And I'll do the same for this one. Oh, there's no keyframe on that X, is there? So we're actually going to need to keyframe. I'm just going to do Shift W here, a middle mouse click Shift W to make sure keyframe at the beginning and end. And then I'll just do Shift W here, and then here it can kind of swing out a little bit. So see how it goes straight back and then it swings out. Let's repeat for this one. So I've already moved in a little bit. I'll do Shift W, and yeah, let's just make sure it's the same at the end, Shift W. And then here it needs to swing out a little bit. And then we want it to be kind of the same amount in here. So if that's like, just copy that. Paste it here. And then Shift W to keyframe those. So see how the feet kind of swing out? And then once you've done that, so they only swing out when they're in the air. When they're on the ground, they're going straight back. Then we can add a little side to side to this. So right now, it doesn't move side to side at all. And what we tend to do is we tend to keep our weight centered over the foot that's carrying the weight. So right now it's straight because they're even, and then here, while this foot is carrying the weight, we want to shift a little bit over that leg. And then here they're even again. And here I want to shift a little bit over this leg. And then it's even again. And then we also tend to tilt our hips up towards the foot that's carrying the weight. So again, it's about even here and here. I'll tilt it that up a little bit, and we'll need to correct with these other ones. Actually, I think I don't want to use that one. I think I want to use this one. Oh yeah, I thought one of these would do the hips without doing the body above it, but I guess we don't have that. I thought this one would do that, but no. Okay, some rigs have that where you can do the hips independently. Alright, well I'll just use this one anyway. So it's level here, here, that one's carrying the weight, so I'm going to kind of tilt it up towards that. But then we need to correct with these, and so I'll just select all three of those and kind of straighten them out. And then I'll do Shift E to keyframe the rotates of all of those. And let's make sure they're all 0 here. Shift E. Okay, and then here we're back to 0. Unless you've already done stuff on those, but it doesn't look like you did. I don't know. And then here, the weight's on this foot, so tilt up towards that one, but then, oops, correct with those others. And then, yeah. It's a bit exaggerated right now. Let's just make sure we're the same at both ends here. With all these, I'll just middle mouse click and do Shift E again. Something's different from one side to the other, the way I did it. Anyways, it's maybe a bit too, I'm exaggerating, so you might want to do like a lighter touch with this stuff, but you sort of get the idea. And then you can add, some elbow and wrist rotation too, because his arm, see how it's just rotating the elbow and not the wrist? So it's like, as if I do Shift E, let's do it at either end, so it's the same at both ends. And then as this is going forward, I might kind of straighten this, straighten this out a little bit. So my crashed right in the middle of that demonstration, but the point was, yeah, you've got all the basics right, and I think you can then use that as a starting point to kind of embellish and take it a little further. Okay, this is Coby. One thing I'm noticing on this one is see how the knees are kind of popping, and there's also a way in which it feels like the legs are kind of getting in front of the root. Let's take a look in Maya. Okay. So I would say, I think first of all, I think this whole thing is maybe too high up. What I might do is do this side-by-side thing here and get the graph editor open for this root control, and let's look at the Y translate curve. And I think the whole curve is too high, so I'm going to select the whole curve, W for move, Shift middle mouse drag, and Maya's crashing again. It's just not my day. Okay, so I'm back after the crash. Another way to do that, so maybe we don't crash it, is like, let's just look at all of these positions here and kind of move it down some. See, just to where you get a little bit of knee bend. And then I'll middle mouse here and do Shift W to keyframe the same thing there. Oh, why didn't that stay the same? Wow. Okay, I just restarted my computer in hopes that it doesn't crash as much. We shall see. Anyways, I was in the process of trying to move this down. Make sure my auto keyframe's on. Shift W. Rewind, and let's click here, and then middle mouse click here, Shift W, and so it's the same at the beginning and end, but then it's too high in the middle here. So we can go a little higher in the middle here, but not so high it makes the knees pop. also it's like overextending. See, like when you do this, if you get to a certain point, um, see how it stretches beyond. Like, you can keep going, but it's gonna stretch. It's stretched beyond where his leg can reach, and so I think part of it too is that you need to pull this back some. I'll just show on this since I'm having so much trouble with the my file. But the point is that the foot's reaching too far forward and the knees are popping because there's too much height there for them to reach. So everything's like a little overextended. You need to modify the animation so that the knees don't overextend and then therefore pop. This is Vestra. Yeah, this is looking good. Actually, it's interesting because the last one, the root was too high, and this one is maybe a little too low. If you look especially the side view, how bent the knees are. Now it's good to make sure that they don't overextend where you're taller than the legs can reach, but at the same time here it looks like you've gone the other direction where it's too far down and the legs aren't lengthening. And also I think they could reach maybe a little further forward than they are. Maybe could land a little bit more out here. Yeah, but there's other good stuff. I can see the hips twist going on there. You could try to add some elbow and wrist movement, maybe one foot swinging in front of the other, those kinds of things. But overall, this looks good. This is Princeton. I like this one. I think you kind of took the walk and went somewhere with it. I think the holding the hat thing is clever, and it's gotten sort of a strut to it, which is nice. It's more than just a regular walk. I can see how the arm is sort of curving in front of the body, which is interesting. There's a lot of movement happening in the torso here if you look at the way that's curving and bending. So this is a really good one. You kind of took the basic thing and went somewhere with it. So yeah, great work on that. Okay, this is Mercedes, and yeah, one thing you'll notice that when you loop it, there's that pop in the end, which means that the last frame and the first name aren't the same. So to get it to loop, you need to make sure the last frame in the animation and the first frame in the animation are the same. And I think that's like the biggest thing to fix first. Besides that, maybe getting a little bit bigger of a stride. And then some of the other things we talked about, like some of the one foot in front of the other and hips kind of shifting side to side, and maybe a little shoulder and hips rotation a little bit more. It looks like you've got some there, which is good, but it's not looping, where meaning that the beginning and the end aren't the same, and they do need to be the same. This is Ariana Smith. It's a little hard to see because they're kind of small, but you can see it for the most part, and the two arms are a bit uneven. And you'll notice there's sort of a pop at the end of the loop, so you're going to want to make the last frame and the first frame the same. See, that looks like that left leg is kind of popping there. And then also the head seems a little the whole body seems sort of twisted to one side the whole time, so you might want to kind of straighten that out. Maybe it kind of rotates back and forth with the steps. Would be nice to give the body a little twist, but it shouldn't just stay twisted in one direction. It should kind of twist back and forth in the rhythm of the walk. Okay, this is Jeffer. Yeah, so here's another one where we've got the basics, but you could embellish it. I talked about things like the hips moving side to side, some shoulders and hip twist, sort of swinging one foot in front of the other. Also, maybe the arms can swing out at the sides a little bit. You can see how it's penetrating his holster there. So maybe you want to swing out to the sides a little bit. So there's a lot of touches you could kind of add on to this if you want to improve it.